You kill monsters when they're babies. Being responsive. So we spoke about being proactive. This is about being responsive when you do have situations where you do need to address individuals. So responsive is different from being reactive. Reactive, for me, sounds impulsive. It sounds like somebody is pushing your button. And being responsive takes thought. It takes a level of patience, and it takes strategy, and it takes really thinking about how you deal with situations. So this is why I call this being responsive versus being reactive, because you don't want to be reactive. Going back to the medical analogy, people are reactive when it comes to their health. They see the doctor when something is falling off or they're excessively bleeding in an area instead of dealing with situations outright and early. I'm a big believer in, get your annual physical. Uh, Big believer in that. Get your blood work done. That's being responsive. That's being proactive, so that when you are aware of situations, you can respond and you have the appropriate timing to respond. So the first aspect of of being responsive is you kill monsters when they're babies. Okay. You kill the monster when it's a baby. What I mean by this is you address conflicts and problems early on. Now, when I talk about monsters being babies, how that translates to the managerial world is this. When you're dealing with your employees, do you have an issue with your employee that makes you lose sleep? Is this something that you complain about to your spouse, to your significant other, to a family member, to a good friend? If you're out in a pub or a bar, are you talking about this employee and you're not doing anything about it yet? Okay. Does it bring forth this employee issue any negative emotions in you? Do you get upset? Do you make comments like, I don't understand why this person is doing this? That's typically not a good sign. Okay. And then also think about what this person is doing. Is this something that other members of your team, they don't engage in this and they would not even consider engaging in it? Okay. So you take a look at this behavior, you compare it to your team, and is this outside of the norms that you have set for your team? Also, in terms of yourself, because I truly believe that managing people is a skill, but it's definitely a skill that people can learn. You know that you need assistance when this kind of work makes you feel uncomfortable. And when a lot of people feel uncomfortable, they avoid it. I learned very early on back in my social work days that there's two ways of dealing with stress is, you either avoid it or you deal with it head on. Now, not dealing with these problems, not killing monsters when they're babies, to put this nicely, it's a weakness. And it's something that if you're not killing these monsters while they're babies, it's something that you need improvement in. So I'm going to ask everyone out there that if you have a monster, a baby monster in your lurks, in your office, in your organization, and you're feeling this negativity toward them, there's clear-cut issues. I want you to challenge yourself and begin to address those issues. Maybe, maybe you need support. Maybe you need to have a conversation with your boss, or maybe a conversation with HR to get you over that hump. Not killing monsters when they're a baby hurts your career. It's something that might be tolerated from the leadership in your organization, but understand this deep down, leadership knows when you're a weak manager. They know when you have the inability to deal with conflicts head on, or you have an inability to deal with these crisis situations. You don't want to be known as an individual that cannot deal with these conflicts. Ultimately, you are not going to grow in your career. You are not going to grow in that organization, most likely. They might be keeping you on because they're having a hard time finding someone. But ultimately, a healthy organization with a good culture is not going to hold on to a manager that does not address their conflicts in their departments. It's just not going to happen. Also, you don't want to be seen as someone that is kicking the can down the road. So you hope this situation goes away with this employee. You hope that, maybe they resign. You hope that maybe this just improves on its own, but you don't want to be seen as the person that kicks the can down the road. You want to be responsive. You don't want to kick the can down the road. You want to kill the monster when it's a baby.